Hey, what's up? Dusk here. So today we're going to be talking about the state of the game with Killer Clowns. Now, if you aren't aware, I made a video previous to the official launch date that predicted what was going to go on with Killer Clowns, talking about the trajectory of the game. Now, really quick, some people misunderstood what I was saying in that video, as in they thought I was saying that this was all set in stone and the game was doomed. And that's not what I was saying. Thankfully, some people in the comments did understood, and y'all clarified for me, so props to you all. But what I'm saying is this is the current trajectory, and if the devs just abandoned the game today or decided not to do anything, didn't do any more patches, then that's the trajectory it would continue on. But they're very clearly still supporting the game, and so we expect that they'll add things in that will change the trajectory. The only problem, and this is why we're making this video today, is that things are happening much faster. That trajectory is playing out at a much faster rate than I expected, and that's really what we're going to be talking about. First, a quick recap if you didn't see the other video, but I encourage you to go check it out. I don't know if I know how to post a link, so maybe I'll just put something about the name of the video up here and you can look it up. But basically, Killer Klowns is a lot of fun, and it's got a lot of really good short-term progression. But it has no long-term progression, and it has nothing to add weight to the games or any sort of mechanic or gimmick that will make players want to keep playing for a long period of time. Meaning that after players do everything there is to do that is fun, they'll get bored of the fun and then move on, because that's how human beings work. For example, if you go to the same amusement park every day and you ride the same roller coaster every day, it doesn't matter how fun and exciting and amazing that roller coaster is, you eventually get bored of it. You've done everything there is to do, and now you're on to find maybe a new roller coaster. And games work exactly like that, because that's just how human beings work, right? So yeah, without any sort of long-term support, then the player base goes into decline. But why is this happening so much faster than I expected? Well, one is because the game was far more broken than I expected. So let's take a look at that really quick. So as many of you already know, the challenges, a lot of them are broken and bugged out and cannot be completed in public matches. They can be completed in private, at least until you get to Elite Human and Elite Clown, but these are broken and do not unlock. Probably because there's currently nothing there, would be my guess. The second thing would be the human classes. If you're not aware, none of the additional classes actually function. Everybody is actually just athletic. So even if you pick Rebellious, you're still just running the athletic stat line. And if I am to understand correctly, from what the devs were saying, that is because there were some balance issues and they needed to work all those kinks out of the balance before they turned on all these other classes. And we're starting to see what they were talking about, but wow, is it way more out of whack than even I would have guessed. Because if you don't know, the athlete, here's the stat line, look at that strength bar. That's how much weapon damage you're going to do with a weapon, although it doesn't say when you mouse over it. They have the lowest strength bar in the game, which means that realistically, humans shouldn't really be fighting back. But in fact, we are seeing that humans are one-shotting. Like if they get a fire axe and do a power attack, they're one-shotting clowns. It's pretty easy to do like kill squads, which normally isn't a big deal given the power dynamic of the game. Humans are supposed to be strong at the start, but then get weaker as time goes on. Clowns start out weaker, get stronger. But you're talking about a non-combat class that is dominating in combat. That means that once they get in, like the really strong classes, these guys will be one-shotting tank clowns, which is absurd. How would you ever even stop this class? You know, you give firearms to the faster people, and then you give your bats to these people and just walk through the clowns like they're made out of paper. So what I can surmise is that humans are doing double to triple the damage they're supposed to be doing, which seems like a pretty absurd oversight. Once you see what's happening in the game, and then you come back and look at these stat bars. So just from a balance perspective, that's out of whack. Now, if there were not these stronger classes and this was it, then that would be more okay, because clearly humans are meant to be able to fight back. And we would just say, well, we probably need to curb the base damage just a little bit. But in reality, once they unlock this stuff, humans are about to get way stronger. Like, that strength is more than double, right? So this tells us that the base numbers are just completely blown out, right? So humans need to have their damage drastically cut. But even once they get that balanced out, that's not really going to help. Because people are just already bored. They've already played out Killer Klowns. They've already gone through everything there is to do. They've already unlocked all the stuff they want to unlock. And right now, the most fun thing to do in the game is fight. It is the combat, which is great. Like, that's why you put a combat system in a game, so that people engage with it, and they are engaging with it heavily. It's just so broken that it's not functioning well, right? But the point is, though, is even once they fix it and get it balanced out, people just aren't interested in trying to play the escapes or do any of that stuff. They just want to fight. So people are going to still do the death squads. They're going to ignore the rest of the game. Clowns aren't really interested in having to sweat that hard, because I will tell you, I did play a match and I had 2 randoms, but I kind of coached them through how we should beat the humans, and we did beat them, but it was super tedious. We had to, thankfully, one of the other clowns was also running a top tier loadout, but it was just so tedious, it was zero fun. And this is sort of an echo back to VHS. Why did VHS die? Because Monster was not any fun. But there's light at the end of the tunnel. VHS, their problems were baked into the framework of the game. Killer Klowns is just a balance issue, and that is easily tweakable. They just have to bring the base damage for humans way down, and that's kind of it. Like, that just kind of fixes it, right? But that doesn't solve the lack of long-term mechanics and gimmicks, right? So they are going to have to figure out what they want to do for the long term. If not, Killer Klowns will go the same way as Ghostbusters, which is another IllFonic title, where people love the game. They played the crap out of it. It's great. That game has a ton of progression. They're still supporting it to this day. Good on IllFonic. But it's not a major title. It doesn't have a major player base behind it, right? And that's because there's just no reason to play. Like, you go in from time to time, periodically, play, have some fun, goof off, and it is a blast, dude. Ghostbusters is super fun to play for a little bit. And then, you know, you kind of have fun and you put it back on the shelf for a while, and then you come back and revisit it later. And that's exactly where Killer Klowns is going. But in its current state, they have enough stuff broken with the current balance and the current progression, and, you know, the lack of human classes still being turned off. You know, they have to fix all that and still get content drops in as well. And so what we have is a potentially dangerous scenario where there is this point of no return where the player base gets so small that it never properly recovers. Now, thankfully, they're nowhere near that margin yet. But at the trajectory they're going, it looks like time might not be on the side of Killer Klowns, which could mean that they launched the game before it was ready. Now, unless we've got a time machine, there's no way for the developers to fix that. So what can they do in the meantime to, you know, fix that? And unfortunately, I don't think there's a cool magic bullet solution. I think they have to get, you know, the balance and the bug fixes underway as soon as possible. If you like Killer Klowns, I say it's probably fine to step away from the game. Don't burn yourself out. Let's help the developers out a little bit, and keep our eye on the game. Maybe pop back in and play like a game or two, kind of enjoy it, shelf it. Don't get mad at the game. Don't get mad at other players. Don't be like, oh, you're just abusing this busted thing. Well, what else are they supposed to do? go lose to you on purpose, go be bored and get burned out on the game. I mean, players are going to do whatever is going to be entertaining or fun or whatever they want to do. And let them do that, because we do need some players to stick around, right? Because if we all take a break at the same time, then the game dies, right? So let people have fun. Don't rage at your fellow player. And just try to give the devs time. Don't burn yourself out on the game. And every time they put out a patch, let's come back and check it out. That was my philosophy with Texas Chainsaw Massacre. When it got to the point that I felt like I was getting burned out and I wasn't enjoying the game and I didn't like the current state of the game, I took a break from the game. And when they do major patches and stuff, I would go check them out. Several patches, I was like, there's nothing here. I don't even have a reason to test this patch out. But when they finally did put out a patch, and I was like, okay, this is worth checking out, I jumped back in, and that is the current patch, by the way. And now, Texas Chainsaw Massacre is great. I love it. I'm having fun on the game again. And that's because I didn't burn myself out on it. And hopefully a lot of other players did the same, and a lot of players are coming back to Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And hopefully Gun continues, I almost said stick to their guns, but no dad jokes today, thank you. Speaking of dad jokes, my daughter got me this shirt. Hopefully they have learned enough that now they can maybe move the game in the right direction instead of constantly pushing it in the wrong direction. But that's a whole nother game. We're talking about Klowns here. With Klowns, so far they've just been going in the right direction. They've just stumbled a lot. And are struggling is all. So I have a much more optimistic view of Killer Klowns than I do TCM. I just know that right now it's not great, right? But I'm still hopeful, and hopefully now you are. Now when you see the player base continue to shrink, you'll understand why. That's no need for panic just yet. If you love the game, it's fine. I will continue to keep my eye on Killer Klowns. I'll continue to talk about the state of the game and the patches and all that stuff. I've also got my eye on last year, which they pushed back to October. If you don't know, or I guess it's called The Forest now. I think they changed the name. But their relaunch is coming in October now. I'll be talking about that stuff too. Don't you guys worry. And when all else fails, we can always go to our rundown vacation home that is Dead by Daylight, which Dead by Daylight's in a pretty good state. Probably about a good a state as that's going to get into, and that's a whole nother video I could talk about. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.